Welcome, seekers of hidden knowledge, to the mystical realm of the occult. Delve into the secrets of the universe as we journey together into the enigmatic world of ancient wisdom. Brought to you by your guide through the shadows of enlightenment, Wisdom Rocker. Uncover the mysteries, unlock the power, and journey with us as we explore the hidden depths within the pages of forgotten scrolls and ancient texts. Prepare to embark on a journey beyond the ordinary, where wisdom transcends time and knowledge is your greatest ally. Welcome to Wisdom Rocker. Prepare to awaken your inner sage. In this video, we will be uncovering the wisdom within the chapters of
The Theosophical Seal, a study for the student and the non-student, by Arthur M. Kuhn, with an introduction by James S. Perkins. This book is dedicated to all searchers for wisdom. 1958. Book 3. The Swastika. Chapter 10. Antiquity. The swastika occupies a position in the Theosophical Seal within the small circle at the top where the serpent swallows its tail. Upon a blue background it presents at first sight an appearance of serene tranquility, yet after a few moments' contemplation upon its form and implied motion, it is found to be the center and source of ceaseless and untiring activity. Of all of the symbols comprising the seal, the swastika is the only one whose special characteristic is motion. Others express states of being the relationship between spirit and matter, the nature of man and his relationship with God the soul, and its path to perfection. God as eternal, infinite spirit, God in manifestation as the Word made flesh. The swastika is the sign of God as the divine creative fire in the universe. Before, however, becoming involved in the philosophy of the swastika to attempt to discover something of its hidden or esoteric meaning, we shall look to its antiquity and place in history. Whether from the point of view of time or history the cross or the swastika is the more ancient, we may never know. Both are known to have come down to us from earliest evidences of civilization. Specimens of the swastika on pottery and stones have been found in caves and tombs in every part of the globe, not only in the Old World so-called, but also throughout the Western Hemisphere. Ancient China, India, and Egypt held it as a sacred symbol and placed it in the tombs of initiates or great souls following the trade routes between Asia and Europe. It found its way through the Middle East, by caravan or conquering armies, to Greece and Rome. Many evidences in the catacombs of Rome indicate that in the early days of the Church, it was held as a Christian symbol. From Rome it found its way northward into Austria and Germany. The following from the Secret Doctrine by H.P. Blavatsky gives further evidence of its age and universality. So ancient is the symbol of the swastika and so sacred that there is hardly an excavation made on the sites of old cities without its being found. A number of such terracotta discs were found by Dr. Schliemann under the ruins of ancient Troy, proof that the ancient Trojans and their ancestors were pure Aryans. It is found on the heart of the images and statues of Buddha in Tibet and Mongolia. One finds it with the old Peruvians, the Assyrians, Chaldeans, as well as on the walls of the Old World Cyclopean buildings. In the catacombs. At Rome, where because the first Christians are supposed to have concealed themselves and their religion, it was called crux dissimulata. According to De Rossi, the swastika from an early period was a favorite form of the cross employed with an occult signification, which shows the secret was not that of the Christian cross. One swastika in the catacombs is the sign of an inscription which reads in Greek Vitalis Vitalia, or life of life. Again, H.P. Blavatsky writes, the swastika is found heading the religious symbols of every old nation. It is the worker's hammer in the Chaldean Book of Numbers, which striketh sparks from the flint space, those sparks becoming worlds. It is Thor's hammer, the magic weapon forged by the dwarfs against the giants, the pre-cosmic titanic forces of nature. She further explains that this divine hammer has been degraded into the mallet, or gavel of masonry, where its power is even there sufficient to dissipate the darkness. Frank C. Higgins, FRNS, in an excellently illustrated booklet, The Cross of the Magi, published in 1912, Roger Brothers, New York, has made an extensive collection of coins and documentary evidence to prove that the swastika has been a sacred symbol not only in ancient China, India, Persia, Chaldea, as well as Europe and Africa, but also among the original Indian natives of Mexico, Central and South America. Engraved on coins, carved on stones, baked on clay tablets, woven in bead patterns, it symbolized the sun and the solar system, evidence that in the Americas unknown centuries before the coming of the white man, there existed civilizations in which knowledge of the rotation of the planets about the sun was universally known. In our own day, we have seen this ancient and revered symbol degraded into an emblem of hate and selfish lust and a banner of tyranny and torture in the hands of the Nazis. It is true that the form of the swastika chosen by Hitler as his special emblem in his mad try for world conquest was the left-handed variety. Many ancient and primitive peoples have considered the swastika as a talisman or lucky charm that is the right-hand kind. Tradition has it that people believed the left-handed or backward-rotating swastika to be an evil or unlucky charm, while the forward or clockwise rotating emblem was an influence for good. Since the swastika is closely linked with evolution, it may well be that the forward motion means progress toward a goal, while the backward motion signifies retrogression. However that may be, it can be stated with certainty that the memory of the use of the swastika, as an emblem of Nazism, will in future ages have faded into oblivion, while its true meaning as a symbol of the hidden fire or spirit within all manifestation, from the atom to a solar universe, will become increasingly revealed to humanity as it climbs painfully toward its goal. Chapter 11. The Whirling Cross. The swastika is a variant of the cross, but when we try to express its meaning, its particular philosophy, we come upon something elusive and intangible. And yet the swastika is said to be the most comprehensive of all symbols. It is the least mysterious because it is a whirling cross and represents action, force, energy. At the same time, it is the most mystical of symbols because its power belongs rather to spirit than to form. This paradox may be explained, at least intellectually, by saying that the swastika partakes of the nature of the circle and of the cross. If we should inscribe a cross within a circle, and then should erase a section of the circumference on one side of each of the arms, there would remain a swastika. Dr. Arundale has described this relationship in his book, The Lotus Fire. The swastika cannot be separated from the cross. Neither can it be separated from the circle, for it takes upon itself the properties of each, and combines the two into one symbol. We might suggest that the swastika born of the circle and the cross forms a symbolic trinity. Our first step, therefore, in attempting to fathom its mystery must be to trace its ancestry from these two parents. Briefly, the circle with its invisible center represents the father or spirit, and the cross, universally the symbol of form, expresses the mother aspect of being. But when we contemplate the swastika, we see the form aspect gradually fade and disappear, and in its stead we come to that which is the source of form. It is as though the swastika were the creator of form, instead of form in itself. In trying to penetrate any symbol, in order to discover its inherent or hidden characteristic, attention must be paid to its shape and the relationship of its parts. Consider for a moment the plain or Greek cross. We recall that the symbol of the square signified form, whether of a universe, a world, or man. We saw that this form had an implied motion, that is, as approaching an ideal or prototype which contained within it the idea of finality or perfection, an end which was fixed and static. Then we saw that the cross, formed by the intersection of the vertical and horizontal lines, also typified the form side of being, but of form as extending and expanding along its four lines into infinity. In the swastika, however, we find an implied motion, not as an extension from a center outward in a line, but as in a circle around its own center. Dr. Arundale called it the wheel of law, of sound, fire, and life, of creation and evolution. Like the cross, the swastika is intimately related to the manifested universe. Rotating about its center, it represents a world revolving around a central sun, its four arms forming 4/4 of that circle in space and indicating the 4 points of the compass: north, south, east, and west. Similarly, in a time-space sense, as the Earth swings through the sidereal heavens, its arms measure the year into its 4 seasons, reaching out to the 4 cardinal signs of the zodiac. Ancient symbology linked these 4 signs with the famous 4 beasts of Ezekiel and Revelation, and also to the various forms of the Sphinx found in ancient temples and on the sands of Gizeh. In a previous study, we found that these signs and beasts were related occultly to the 4 silent watchers, or 4 recording angels. Sometimes called the 4 regents of the north, south, east, and west. In yet another sense, they are related to the 4 elements: earth, air, fire, and water. Unlike the cross, or rather in addition to the characteristics of the cross, the swastika intensifies these characteristics and brings them to life. Quoting again from the Lotus Fire by Dr. Arundale, in this symbol of the swastika is revealed the marvelous activity of life, of man becoming God, a revolving fiery cross. The swastika whirls because God has set in motion the wheel of the law. I see, therefore, as substance of this whirling swastika, a law-light life, which gives a very special appearance of restlessness to the movement of the swastika, pages 224, 225, 267. Dr. Arundale makes another interesting comparison between the characteristics of the cross and the swastika. The cross expresses the characteristics of sacrifice, truth, law, righteousness, experience, balance, and stability. The swastika expresses courage, daring, venturesomeness, lawfulness, salvation, and well-being, page 324. H.P. Blavatsky says that the swastika is the most philosophically scientific of all the symbols, as also the most comprehensible. It is the summary in a few lines of the whole work of creation or evolution. Verily many are its meanings. In the macrocosmic work, the hammer of creation, with its four arms bent at right angles, refers to the continual motion and revolution of the invisible cosmos of forces. In that of the manifested cosmos in our Earth, it points to the rotation in the cycles of time of the world's axes and their equatorial belts. The two lines forming the swastika, meaning spirit and matter, the four hooks suggesting the motion in the revolving cycles in Teutonic legends, the swastika is called Thor's hammer, symbol of nature's creative forces. It is also referred to as the Hermetic Cross. As a symbol of creation and evolution, Dr. Arundale has this to say in the Lotus Fire: the vertical line descends into the horizontal line as an infinite soul enters a limited body. The cross is thus the incarnated soul, and in the swastika we have the symbol of its growth, page 281. The vertical line would seem to be the channel of force for God the Father, while the horizontal line is the channel of force for God the Mother, so that the cross itself symbolizes that union of Father Spirit with Mother Spirit, which, as it were, gives birth to the swastika. The spirit of the Son, who whirls his way through the evolutionary process, is the evolutionary process, page 223. He quotes from Pranavavada: the chakra, or whirling disc, is the swastika, the cross of fire, which in rapid rotation is each an arm blown backwards. Also as a symbol of creative fire, the electric cross or wheel. The swastika represents creation in time, but the whirling arms signifying succession, page 651. Whether we think of those whirling vortices of force which make up the microscopic atom, the seven force centers called chakras of the physical body, which control its marvelous processes of growth and evolution, or macrocosmic revolutions of planets around a central sun, the wheels within wheels, all of Ezekiel and Revelation, the swastika, or whirling cross, is a universal symbol. Chapter 12. Creative Fire. Perhaps the most revealing discovery in our study of these symbols is that there exists a relationship between them and the persons or aspects of the deific Trinity. The idea of deity manifesting as a Trinity is a fundamental concept with many of the world's great religions, past and present, and need not be pursued here. We think of the point in the center of the circle as typifying the first aspect of God as Father. His characteristic is will or spirit. The cross is universally associated with the idea of sacrifice. Outwardly it implies suffering and sorrow, repentance and contemplation. It is the sign both of death and resurrection. Esoterically, it embodies the idea of the descent of God or Spirit and his embodiment in form. It is therefore the sign of the second aspect of God, which in Christianity is called the Son, the second Logos, or the second person of the Trinity. The swastika, on the other hand, for reasons to be brought out in this study, is associated with the third person of the Trinity, the Holy Ghost. In other religions, this aspect of deity appears variously as Brahma, the creator of the universe, Thor, whose hammer striketh sparks in space, Vulcan, creator of Earth's elements, Fohat, a Tibetan term designating the universal vital force manifesting as electric energy. These are but names to personify that most elusive yet everywhere present phase of God's nature as the Creator. The function, we should say, one of the functions of the third Logos, the third person of the Trinity, we are told in the ancient scriptures, is the creation of the elements, the atoms of primordial matter, and the impregnating of this matter with his life and energy, giving it the properties of becoming living organisms and forms. The swastika is the symbol of this creative process. Quoting again from the Lotus Fire by Dr. Arundale, the swastika is symbol of the creative fire of the third Logos, the Holy Ghost or Brahma, page 635. Within the heart of each atom is to be seen a flaming cross, page 645. Few world symbols, writes H.P. Blavatsky, are more pregnant with real occult meaning than the swastika. It is the emblem of the activity of Fohat, of the continual revolution of the wheels and of the four elements, the sacred four, in their mystical, and not alone in their cosmical meaning. Further, its four arms bent at right angles are intimately related to the Pythagorean and Hermetic scales. One initiated into the mysteries of the meaning of the swastika can trace on it with mathematical precision the evolution of cosmos, also the relation of the seen to the unseen and the first procreation of man and species. Like the cross, the vertical line of the swastika represents the vitalization aspect of life, while the horizontal line expresses life in manifestation. In our time-space universe, the one is related to time, the other to space. These two principles are the woof and warp in the loom of the Creator as he weaves the intricate and ever-changing tapestry of life. In a mystical yet truly reverent sense, the vertical line might be said to typify God the Father, who descending crosses the horizontal line, symbol of the universal mother, forming the cross, symbol of the Son, that is to say, of all living organisms. Dr. Annie Besant carries this idea to a point where it sheds some light on that mystical statement in the Christian creed. She writes, "Then the point, with the line revolving with it, vibrates at right angles to the former vibration, and thus is formed the cross, still within the circle, the cross which thus proceedeth from the Father and the Son, the symbol of the third Logos, the creative mind, the divine activity now ready to manifest as Creator. Then he manifests himself as the active cross, or swastika. The swastika, therefore, is the symbol of a living, moving, evolving unit of life, be that unit an atom or a solar system. It is that creative fire within all living things which breaks through every barrier and limitation to build anew and nearer to the likeness of its destined goal. In the mind of man, it is the fire which makes him a creator in art, in literature, in music, mechanics, healing, and indeed every phase of human activity. It is the fire within his own being which urges and torments him to become a god. A new understanding is shed upon the creative process as told in the first chapter of Genesis. The phrase "in the beginning" refers not so much to the time element as to the sequence of causation, for the process of creation is continuous and refers to the coming into manifestation of things already existing as seeds in an archetypal world, or to put it in other words, as ideas in the divine mind. This entire process is so poetically stated in a single sentence, "And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, Let there be light." Throughout this void or darkness there appear innumerable points of light, like holes in the enveloping night. These whirling centers of fire fill or press back the emptiness of space. Down from the highest or dimensionless levels, these revolving points of light become whirling vortices of light, more and more complex, until upon reaching the atomic level in the world we know they become the physical atoms known to science. It is obvious that these microscopic units of such tremendous energy are not units of solid matter as we think of it, but charges of electric fire whirling at inconceivable velocities. And it is out of the infinite variety of combinations of these vortices of fire or light that the whole matter of our physical world is formed. And there was light. This creative evolutionary process is a continual process, and through all ages the swastika has been its symbol. The bursting of the bomb at Hiroshima flashed upon the eyes of the world the inconceivable power locked up in those ultra-microscopic units of force. What has not been learned is that these atoms are as electrodes in this material world, connected by intangible and invisible wires to that divine source of all power, whose name is Spirit.
Thanks for watching the Wisdom Rocker. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.